This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
This is a PSA, or public sock announcement. Experts have declared Bombas socks as the best way to warm up chilly feet. These pairs are super cushy, soft, and designed for maximum coziness. Plus, for every pair purchased, another pair will be donated, so someone in need of essential clothing can stay warm this winter. Go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.
Hey everyone, this is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while confusing which celebrities are still living and referencing Star Wars.
Stack our shelves with the clinches out. Shout it from the rooftop, can you hear the sound? Yeah. Live your best life, love it out loud. Love it out loud.
Happy Veterans Day, American HBs, and happy Monday to all of you other beautiful listeners. It's our annual Veterans Day episode, and we decided to continue our journey through the Tall, Dark, and Dangerous series by Suzanne Brockmann. Before we get into that, though, I gotta tell you what's happening on our bonus feeds. Look, we warned you about how we lost our minds over the Goliaths of Wrestling series, and we're proving it to you this week with 2 bonus episodes in which we squeal about the second and third books in the series. You're welcome in advance. Today is part 1 of Frisco's Kid by Suzanne Brockmann. We were hoping for similar ridiculous antics to the first 2 books, but we got a very sincere recovery story with the following content warnings: debilitating injury and aggressive rehabilitation, disability, alcohol use, abuse, and alcoholism, child abuse and neglect, and we discuss the potential suicidal ideation of a character. The good news is that overall, we liked book. So, here's part 1 of Frisco's Kid by Suzanne Brockmann. Here we go.
Well, hello, Melody.
Hello, Sabrina. How art thou today?
Great.
I'm Bill Shakespeare over here, apparently.
Bill Oh my God. No. I don't like that. That's too familiar, Melody.
Too familiar? Is this like an Al Pacino? It wasn't Al Pacino, was it? It was the other guy.
Oh my God. I have
who I kept on first naming.
Yeah, I have the vaguest.
Bobby De Niro. It's a Bobby De Niro moment.
Oh my God, yeah. I was like, I had the faintest wisp in my brain of like, yeah, Melody did do that one time.
I did,
yeah, this is a Bobby De Niro. Mr. De Niro. Mr. Shakespeare. Okay.
Sure.
Where we are an elegant professional podcast.
Yeah. Sir Corpse Shakespeare. That works, right? That's classy.
Did you just say the dead Shakespeare?
I said Sir Corpse Shakespeare. Yeah. That bitch is super dead, Sabrina. Did you not hear?
Oh my
William
God,
Shakespeare is incredibly dead.
No, this isn't even what I was planning on talking to you about today, but I have to tell you a story.
I totally derailed us at the beginning.
You did. But I have to tell you this story. I need to start making a list of stories that I've told on pod so I don't tell them over and over and over and over again. Because my Swiss cheese brain, boy, you could hear this story 800 more times.
Yep.
So how I'm not exactly hip with the times?
No, I have no idea. What?
I'm also just not really tapped into common popular knowledge.
Okay.
I'm not proud of this, okay? You remember when they did that hologram of Tupac at one of those awards shows?
Yes. Sabrina.
I didn't understand why it was such a big deal. I was like,
What?
it's not that hard to make a hologram of somebody. Like, I just didn't understand why it was such a big deal. And people were like freaking out. And I made that comment. I was like, it's really not that hard. You film them in a specific kind of way for like in a couple of different angles. And it's not that big of a deal. And everybody was like, we were definitely... We
were having two different conversations.
They thought that there was a level of common knowledge that we were operating on, right? Because they were like, it is a big deal, blah, blah. And we were going,
wait, because you didn't know that Tupac Shakur was dead?
Yeah.
Oh, my actual goddess. What about, have you heard of anybody called Biggie Smalls?
Yes.
Do you know who that is? Okay. What is
That's
his status? What is his lifehood status like, Sabrina?
Don't ask me that. Chances are, if you ask me the status of a celebrity, unless it is somebody who has been in the news recently, or like somebody who is like in the zeitgeist currently, like Taylor Swift. I know Taylor Swift isn't dead.
Really? Oh my God, that's great. Wow. Yeah. No, chalk one up for Sabrina. You know what I mean, listener?
I know Taylor Swift isn't dead. And you want to know how I know that? My friends are going to her concert in 2 months and it hasn't been canceled.
What if it's a hologram?
Don't fuck with me. That's just mean. Even then, I'll bet you money. Even if she did die, they have already taken the necessary recordings to very easily turn her into a hologram.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wasn't and I was legit shocked. I was like, oh,
Tupac
I didn't know
was
that.
killed?
But granted, that happens all the time, though. Like, people will be talking about somebody, and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 that person, blah, blah, blah. And I'll, like, say something, and they're like, Sabrina, they're dead. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Honestly, I'm giving you shit, but it does happen to me more often than it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know?
It was just, that was such a, like, public one. It wasn't like somebody made the comment that somebody is dead, right? And I like filed it away, like I don't remember, but like I filed it away, and I was like, okay, good to know that that person is no longer of this mortal coil.
What about Elvis? How do you feel about Elvis's alive or dead status?
I'm entirely too gullible and trusting for conspiracy theories, and so unfortunately I do a little bit.
You know, there's also a conspiracy about Tupac, right?
I don't need Melody.
Sabrina, so many people think that Tupac is alive and living in Cuba.
Great. Oh, all right. Well, now I'm a part of the conspiracy theorists that believe that Tupac is alive, and the conspiracy theory. Oh, you know what? It wasn't that hard to make the fucking hologram. They just went to Cuba.
No, that's one of the reasons the hologram was such a big fucking deal, because people couldn't figure out how they recorded him in that special way to make a hologram since he died in 1990 schmur. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was horrified. Well, and okay, hang on, though.
Okay.
I am much more likely not to know if a person is dead or alive if they died when I was a child, okay?
No, agreed. Especially, like, if you weren't, like, part of their artistic sphere or whatever.
If he had died in 2010, bet your ass I would have been well aware of it, okay? Because I do have
Talk to me about Snoop Dogg.
On playlists. You mean Snoop Lion?
Okay.
I did hear about that one.
Fair enough.
Man, you really did just derail the shit out of this.
I
had
did.
Banter planned for
Write
you.
it down. We'll do it later.
I couldn't wait to tell you about this.
Wow.
And now it's just gone. It's
now
not
it's
gone.
gone.
I remember what it is, but we'll talk about it next time.
Wow. All right, Sabrina, we have to talk about a book that, frankly, I'm so sorry, everyone, had a notable lack of shenanigans and malarkey.
Listener, it is our annual paranormal for Veterans Day.
Yeah, except it wasn't. It was utterly sincere and wholesome.
Just because he doesn't shift in this book does not mean he did not previously shift. In fact, he has an entire existential crisis because he's no longer a paranormal.
No, I mean, but he also is. You know what I mean?
He is.
He just doesn't want to be Yoda now. That's all. Like, be
Melody,
okay with being Yoda.
We
Get your shit together.
We cannot start bringing in...
Get your syllabus going. All right, Yoda?
Star Wars. Are any of those people dead?
I what? I don't know. Which people? Like the person who voices
Star
Yoda?
Wars? And like, are any of the... I feel like...
Or like Mark Hamill? Because Carrie Fisher is dead and we love her and R.I.P. You know what I mean?
She was in... Oh, she was in Star Wars.
She was Princess Leia.
Yeah.
She wore those cinnamon buns on the side of her heads.
Mm-hmm. I forgot that was Carrie Fisher.
Singular head.
I'm basically a font of celebrity knowledge.
Han Solo is also dead. Is that true?
Who played Han Solo?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Is he dead?
I don't know now.
Oh,
I'm honestly not sure. What are we doing with our lives?
All right, Harrison Ford is
alive? He's dead. I think he's
not
dead. He's alive? No.
Yes, he is still acting at 82.
Do you want to know what just happened to me?
What?
I literally said Han Solo died, and I meant Han Solo, the character. And then I got that mixed up with the Notably Living Man.
Honestly, Mel, we need a celebrity gossip podcast.
Oh, man, we would nail that. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's our new podiversary segment is like what celebrities died this year that we should really be aware of.
That's awful.
Oh, we also have patrons, Mel.
Oh, we do?
Yeah. Before we jump right into book, we're going to take a break from your celebrity updates listener. We're going to talk about our personal celebrities.
Yes.
The people who make the podcast possible.
Hell yeah. Thank you to everyone who is part of the Patreon, who's joined the Patreon recently or supported us for years. We super, super, super appreciate you. So, hey, thanks and welcome to Anastasia and Adam C.,
Lindsay N. and Caitlin K.,
Dawn C. and Jess M.,
Megan and Michelle B.,
Jen W. and Jadine T.,
Leah C. and Aubrey F.
Thank you so much. You're incredible.
You. And now we're going to hop right into this shockingly sincere.
God, just wholesome.
Yeah.
There was no action times. There was a little bit of action times.
There was action times of the heart and the mind and the soul.
Yeah, the shenanigans were all like emotional and addiction based. You know?
Yeah.
That's what was going on
just
here.
Just a content warning, listener. If you have substance abuse problems, this might be a hard episode. Or a hard book, specifically.
Okay, listen. I really actually enjoyed this book a metric fuck ton.
I did too.
Here's the only problem. Suzanne Brockmann, I'm so sorry. Hello, you're a goddess. I just didn't come here for this. Okay? I came in with a much different expectation and hope.
I came in expecting Bing Boom Bong segments.
I was expecting Pond Scum Lubricant at some point.
On Pond Scum Lubricant, I was expecting like Prince Joe shenanigans.
Yes.
Like, I had a lot of expectations.
Who's scaling a building? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
At this point, we might have to go back to Anna Hackett. That series did not disappoint. Mission Her Protection. We did that one a couple of years ago, and it was so good.
We can't, though, because we have to commit through book 13.
We actually don't. That's not how this podcast works.
We do, though.
No, you can read those at any
13.
point. You might go on a journey, and I love that for you.
I don't know that I want...
We'll see what the next one is.
We'll see.
Listener, if you want to email me and let me know if book 4, the one after Frisco's Kid, has more shenanigans and malarkey, I would appreciate that. But if it doesn't, we're going to have to veer off of Suzanne Brockmann.
Okay.
I look forward to the Veterans Day episode every year.
Hang on,
Because
Mel. Last year we were struggling to figure out our Veterans Day book until we decided to do Suzanne Brockmann. It has been 1 year of you being super duper crazy excited about the shenanigans in Tall, Dark, and Dangerous.
How dare you, ma'am?
I called you out publicly.
I'm just saying, I don't remember why we didn't go with the Anna Hackett series, because that one was actually bonkers, like from a premise standpoint. Anyway, okay, listen, listener, this book is very good and I enjoyed it, okay? So when we open up, we've heard about Frisco quite a bit. He is one of SEAL Team 10 Alpha Squad that got injured. Alpha Squad! They got injured 5 years ago, and he has been in and out of surgeries and rehabilitation centers. And like he's been working really, really hard to try to get his blowed off knee blowed back on. Is that a thing? Is that how
so the
describe
that? No. So the
okay.
doctors have decided that he is no longer welcome.
They straight up evict him from this rehab center.
Yeah, because they're like, hey, guess what, buddy? We're so proud of you. We never thought that you would walk again, and you are walking, but like your dream of being a SEAL again is over because
Never
you will
gonna happen.
never run. You will always have to use a cane. And frankly, we need that bed.
We need it for somebody we can actually heal to put back into active military duty. It is savage.
This doctor literally says, you're not a kid in your 20s anymore, Alan. The truth is, the SEALs don't need you.
Yowza.
They've got kids coming up from BUDS training who could run circles around you even if you could run. Do you really think the top brass are going to want some old guy with a bum knee to come back? And this is the first character that I wanted to punch in the face. Like, he isn't wrong, okay?
No, and Frisco is
that.
mildly delusional. Like, Frisco is at the point 5 years in where he needs a hard talking to, because if they cut into his knee anymore, it's only going to make it worse. If he continues to exercise at like Olympic levels in order to rehab his knee, it's only going to make it worse.
Yeah, paranormal army man, or don't say that. Paranormal Navy man levels, like you're not going to have a leg anymore. Like your leg cannot hold you. You are incapable of walking without a cane, which is fine.
Yes.
But ultimately, Frisco does not think it's fine because his whole identity is Navy SEAL.
And it's wrapped up in being not just in the Navy, not just any of that. It is being an active duty Navy SEAL. If he is not that, then he is not anything. And I kind of wondered, like, Frisco, you know that there's like a cap on that career, right? Age-wise? Like at some point you were no longer going to be a Navy SEAL.
Honestly, I don't think Frisco expected to live long enough.
Oh, shit.
To have to deal with that.
Oh, shit. I think you might be completely right.
The way that he talks and the way that he talks about like just launching himself in, being on the front lines, all of these things, how sad it is to like lose his friends, but also like they died fighting for their country and these things that they believe in. Like he absolutely was going to throw himself on top of a bomb at some point to save everybody else. Like there was no way he was making it out of the Navy SEALs without dying.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Dark.
Wow, what a fun Veterans Day episode. Thank you for your service, Frisco.
Doesn't that like put a different like I feel like it puts a different spin on the book because I realized it about halfway through.
Yeah,
that
for
like,
sure.
Some of the ways he was talking, I was like, oh, it clicked. Because I know people like that who are no longer in the military or no longer in whatever dangerous thing that it is.
Yeah.
Like firefighting, like whatever. They don't know what to do with themselves because they literally never imagined a life without it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't expect to survive it.
Right.
And when it clicked, I was like, oh. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, Melody. I'm surprised that there wasn't a suicidal ideation aspect of this book.
Huh. Yeah, because that never comes up, which I appreciated.
I did too. I
mean, it kind of did in that his plan. So this doctor tells him this, right? And Joe from Prince Joe fame and malarkey is there to do the emotional support. And he's like, that doesn't mean you can't be part of the SEALs. It just means you're not jumping out of planes. Like, we need you. You've got the best strategic mind I've ever seen in all my days of shenanigans and malarkey. And we need you there to train up the pups that are coming up. We need you to be an instructor. And Frisco is like, fuck that and fuck you. Those who do. And those who can't teach.
Those who can do and those who can't teach.
That's the one.
So close.
Wasn't I, though? What a dingus.
Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, and sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. What I love about Shopify is how no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to the next level. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The holiday season is now approaching, but at BlueNile.com, there's always something to celebrate. Whether you're looking for everyday elegance to elevate a casual outfit or a statement piece worthy of your biggest holiday looks, Blue Nile brings sparkle to any occasion. With some of the highest quality standards in the industry and jewelry experts on hand to answer any questions, you can be confident in your purchase. Right now, celebrate the season with 30% off at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
By the way, Prince Joe.
Yeah.
Boy, what an emotionally mature compared to his book man.
You know, he's been married for quite a few years.
He's got a bunch of little ones running around at home now, and he's
No, he has one on the way. What are you talking about?
That's a bunch of little ones.
His wife is pregnant there's nobody out of utero.
It's a bunch of little ones running around.
Anyway, so because of this, he's like, okay, I guess I'm just not part of the Navy now. Please have them process my discharge papers. I'm going to go fuck myself now. And then for the next 2 days, he basically goes to a condo that he's been paying off in his shitty hometown outside of the naval base. And he drinks himself silly
into a stupor
for 2 days. And like, from that point of view, Sabrina, there was a little bit of suicidal ideation. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't equate the two.
Yeah?
I think that he was in a dark place.
I don't know. It felt like he had very much given up. Because
I would agree
here's the thing.
That.
He had a traumatic childhood that included an alcoholic and abusive father. And so
and an
if
alcoholic sister.
And he currently has an alcoholic.
Very important.
Yes. And so in Frisco's mind, he is either an active duty Navy SEAL or his only purpose in life or his only other option is to drink himself until he melts into his lazy boy while watching TV and cursing at strangers.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to die. There's a difference between giving up and...
Yeah, that's fair.
...wanting to die.
Okay, that's fair.
Is basically what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that he didn't have thoughts like that, but it's not
we
on
just don't
page
see it. Yeah, we don't see it.
So then on the flip side, we get to meet Mia Summerton, who is a little sunshine.
Yeah.
She is a high school teacher.
And it's summer times, notably.
She is so excited to meet her elderly, retired from the Navy neighbor. She can't wait to hear his war. She's a pacifist, but she can't wait to get to know him.
She can't wait to have him come talk to her classes, about the ye olden days of muskets and honor.
And so she goes to knock on that door, knock, knock, and nobody answers. And then a virile, handsome young man from the courtyard goes, "What are you doing?" And she looks over because notably he lives on the second floor. And she looks over into that courtyard and she says, "Why, I'm looking for Lieutenant Alan Francisco." And goes,
he's also in the shadows right now. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
like a
imagery.
Creepy little asshole.
Yeah.
And he's like,
well, and he's
"I'm
literally
Alan
shrouded in
Francisco."
darkness, Sabrina. She is the sunshine at his door, and he's literally shrouded in darkness.
I understood.
Wow.
The imagery.
Suzanne Brockmann. Nice work. Can't miss it.
Yeah, so he says that that's him, and she's shocked because
he's a hot and sexy.
And a young.
Very young.
And he's like, "I was wounded." Then he makes his way up those stairs and shows her his wounds, and she can smell the whiskey on him.
Yeah. And she's like, "You can probably get a unit on the first floor. You know, there's one open." And he's like, "How dare you? I don't need anything like that. I don't need any accommodations for my injury." And also, basically, he's like, either come in and we can fuck, or you can fuck off. Like, that is word for word almost what he says.
Boy, he is just such a drunk, miserable asshole right now.
Yeah, he's so mean.
He sees her and he's like, "Man, this made me fucking gag, though." At first, he thinks she's a teenager.
Oh, I missed
because of how
that.
young she looks, and
Gross.
he's like,
no, I do remember that.
But now that I know she's an adult, that is a sexy lady." And I'm
Yeah.
like,
And like,
all right.
frankly, okay,
that's better.
Perfectly.
Because at first he's grossed out, but I was like,
way.
why do we have to mention that she's hot and so young that she looks like it?
She didn't. She just has the spry physique of a possible teenager.
Well, he also, when she smiles the first time, he's like, in his head, he's like, "Damn, that's a goofy looking smile." And I was like, rude ass. At least he didn't say it out loud.
20% into the book, he's like, "Did I say it was goofy? I was wrong. It is fucking gorgeous and it slays me and I hate it."
So I'm just going to go ahead and preface this, listener, because one, this is an election year. Two, this is an especially hot election year, as if we've had a soft, cold election year for the last decade and a half. But
we are currently recording this on October 25th, so tensions are high.
So less than 2 weeks before election day. And I had to remind myself
when this was written
about 800 times, because it was a very different time in the 90s.
Same.
In the 90s. So I'm just going to throw that out there now, because similarly to the other Suzanne Brockmann books that we've done, I mean, also, it's not going to be shocking to listener, I hope, to find out or know that, like, Melody and I aren't exactly...
That we're rabid liberals? What is your deal?
I was like, they're not exactly, like, the most pro, like, military might, walk with a big stick.
Yeah, we're like, send some of that to the education system. Yeah. Is that possible?
And there's a lot of comments in this book that are like, "Yeah, good military, put all the money into the military." And
this citizen has no idea what actually goes on.
In war.
How much monies you have to spend before.
Which, like, to be fair, in 1995, probably not.
Doesn't matter.
But
there's also a bunch of, like, there's one conversation that I almost lit my hair on fire over.
Are you talking about the how they're on opposing sides regarding abortion and the death penalty, and probably on different sides
and guns,
for voting
and
guns,
and how their votes cancel each other out,
and that's why it's okay. In action,
democracy, and that's okay. We can still. That's not personal, Sabrina. Okay. That is just
I had
politics.
to remind myself, it was such a different time too, though. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't.
What, we didn't know that Democrats were actually basically Republicans, and now we do?
I mean, there's so many. It's just a different landscape.
Yeah. That's true. I guess, like, talks of privilege were not as
Yeah.
front and center. And it was something that I think a lot less people interrogated, or at least were forced to interrogate.
Yes. They could choose to not have those conversations.
Right. And like,
I have a problem with that.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
I can't
and like,
either.
I'm not judging. I just literally cannot imagine being romantically or sexually attracted to someone who like doesn't see my personhood as equal in any practical, pragmatic way. But I don't know. It's very obvious to me that this was written in a moment where it wasn't understood that conversations like this only happened between the very privileged. Conversations like how their votes cancel each other out and like it's all fun and games.
That's exactly what it is. These are two very privileged people in a time where politics was fun and games. And
I mean, except for every black person, especially if you were a young black man.
Yes.
Three-strike rule, etc. What?
Yes. But like that's what I'm saying is like to them politics is fun and games.
Yeah.
And like I kept having to remind myself of that over and over this entire book.
Yeah, same.
But anyway, so his sister shows up and she is being forced to go to rehab because she got a DUI. She's a drunk, all of these things. She's an alcoholic. She almost killed a man.
I did appreciate this because she said, and if he dies, it's going to be so much worse. And Frisco goes, if he dies, he's going to be in a much worse position than you are. He'll be dead.
Uh-huh.
And, like, she can't quite get it, and I hate her for it, and that's okay. But, wait, quick. Mia is the best, all right, on many, many levels.
Mm-hmm.
Including politics, frankly. But at this very moment, she happens to be gardening, and that's why she can overhear everything that's happening in the courtyard.
Oh my God. I didn't even clock that Mia was a gardener. All right.
She gardens in so much of this book, and it's incredible.
I didn't clock it at all.
Yeah, that's why she can overhear everything. And it's terrible because her 5-year-old daughter comes over to Mia because, you know, the adults are talking.
Natasha, yeah.
Natasha. And so she and Mia are having a conversation, and Mia can openly hear Frisco being like, I don't want her. Like, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, that's devastating. It doesn't matter.
It is devastating.
It doesn't matter what the circumstance is because, like, he's not saying I don't want her because I don't love her. He's like, I'm a mess. I don't want to inflict myself upon her, essentially.
And, like, it was one of those things where it was definitely, like, it was the better of two evils kind of situation. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? Like, it was him who is in a fucking hot mess situation and the state.
Yeah, but understands sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, like, does have a personal vested interest in her. Because we find out, oh, my God. So he eventually agrees, okay? And then he, like, goes to level with Natasha.
It was so cute.
Yeah. And so he puts his uncle pants on, and he's like, hey, Natasha, I could really use a hug. Do you need a hug? Would you mind giving me a hug? And she's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And she goes over and she hugs him. And then she sits down on his lap. And he starts saying, you know, that the last time he saw her, she was so small and blah, blah, blah.
Because she
and
was
then he
born
says,
in the backseat of his truck.
He birthed her in the back of his truck because his sister's always had a flair for the dramatic. And Frisco was the first person to hold her after she came out.
Well, and he told her, he was like, I had to catch you and hold on to you to keep you from running a lap around the block.
Yeah.
Babies can't run. The little girl scoffed. Well, maybe not regular babies, but you came out doing the tango.
And smoking a cigar, Frisco.
And hollering at everybody. Oh, baby, you were loud. Well, and Natasha giggled. Really? Really, Alan said. Not the tango and the cigar, but the loud.
But you were super loud, yeah.
And, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I love conversations like that with kids where you're just like, you say the most outlandish shit to them and they're just like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
You're being dumb. Like, it's one of the great joys in life. And then I get to give them back. So,
but Frisco cannot give her back because her sister has already fucked off to that mandatory
Oh,
bullshit.
my God.
And nobody talks to Natasha about it.
And thus begins Natasha's adventures as the main protagonist of a freaking kids show where the adults just aren't paying any attention because he goes to take a shower, and when he gets out, she is gone.
No, yeah, she's gone. She's gone.
And he's like, I need help finding her. And so Mia comes to help him.
Yeah.
And turns out she went to the Pacific Ocean herself.
Yeah, she goes by herself to the beach. They notice that, okay, so Mia pulls up and he launches himself as fast as he can out of the car. And she is over there with this teenager. And so all Mia can see, Thomas, all Mia can see from her perspective is him going over there and like being really intense and like, you know, grabbing Mia and being like, you know, saying something or whatever. And then Thomas, she gets out of the car because Thomas is like, oh, you better not be getting ready to lay a hand on that girl. Like, we will have a big problem if you hit that child. And he's like, what? What are you think I would hit her? And he's like, yeah, she thought so too. She's currently hiding under the table. And then Frisco dies 80,000 deaths because he realizes that somebody must have hit her at some point and he cannot fathom it. So we find out later it wasn't her mom. It was her mom's boyfriend. Dwayne. Yeah, it was awful. But it's great because Frisco and Thomas find some common ground because once Thomas realizes that like he wasn't going to just haul off and whack her, Frisco looks and he sees that Thomas's pants are wet up to his knees. And he's like, oh my God, you went and got her. And he's like, yeah, I've got a 5-year-old niece. And he's like, what kind of Navy SEAL are you that you've got a kid who's never seen the ocean and can't swim? And he's like, you know what? We're going to fix that right now. Mm-hmm. And then he has to explain like drowning to her. And then he talks about how even Navy SEALs have swim buddies. Nobody goes swimming by themselves. And that he's going to start giving her swim lessons so that she will know when she'll be good and it'll be great.
I'm such a fucking slut for a softie about a kid.
I know. Yes.
Like all of the scenes where he was so sweet to Natasha, every molecule of me like bunched up really tight. And I was
were Mia. Mia, she's like, he's hot, sure, but he's an asshole. And then the moment he's nice to that kid, she's like, oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah. She at some point, she's thinking to herself, she's like, he's intriguing and wild and untamed and sexy, but I will definitely probably not sleep with him. And I've never felt more seen by a character. So he starts to kind of accept that some of his limitations. He has not accepted that he is like
never gonna be a Navy SEAL again.
Yeah, he has not accepted that he needs to live on the first floor or should live on the first floor. Like there's a lot of things, but he sets up a pulley system to get groceries and bags and stuff to the second
there
floor.
Was some sexiness we have to tell listener about. I'm sorry. So he oh my God. So it's from his perspective and he's looking at her as she's like, I can give you a ride home or whatever. And he's like, no, we're going to go to the grocery store and we'll head back by ourselves. But he's looking at her and he's like, he was having a pure, raw sex reaction to her. But she wasn't the pure, raw type. She had girlfriend written all over her. And then, okay. One thing I didn't love, but I thought was sort of mitigated a tiny bit by like the way that the character related to the statement. One thing I did not love was how Frisco looks at Thomas, the black 18-year-old boy,
he's
and
18?
says, yeah. And he says that Thomas didn't speak the language of the streets. He had no discernible accent whatsoever. And then he wonders if Thomas deleted that particular part of himself as deliberately as Frisco did. And so it made me feel weird in my tummy.
Yeah. I did clock that too. Yeah.
And so that's all I want to say about that. Didn't love it.
Yeah. Wasn't a huge fan.
And then she tells him, because he's like, oh no, I'm going to walk home. I could use the exercise. And she's like, you don't need exercise. You need to spend 2 weeks laying down in bed. And he goes, Are you volunteering to keep me there? I knew sooner or later you'd change your mind. And they are looking each other with heat in their eyes. And then instead of kissing her, listener, he trails his finger from like the back of her ear down her neck and over her collarbone, following a trail of a bead of sweat. And then she's obviously losing her mind, but then she manages to pull herself together and she says, when I change my mind, it'll be a cold day in July. And then she fucks off, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
Now we have a pulley system situation because he realizes that, like, there's no way he's going to be able to carry up all the bags if he has to hang on to the railing and use his cane to get up the stairs. And so he's like, I'm a fucking Navy SEAL, which means it's even easier to do these creative things right now because nobody's shooting at me. It's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. She also notably calls him Alan all the time, and it's fucking him up because he's always been Lieutenant Frisco, and Alan is the kid he was when he was 11 before he decided he was going to be a Navy SEAL. Alan was the kid who had a future of nothing but
misery.
Yeah.
He actually says Alan is a nobody. And I am Frisco, the Navy SEAL. So a few things happen that keep on like pushing them together because proximity. One of them
for
is
romance
that
reasons.
Yeah. One of them is that poor sweet baby Angel has a giant night terror because her incredibly neglectful mom always has the TV on when they sleep.
A babysitter.
For a babysitter. And she tells him like, hey, has anybody told her like where her mom is?
Oh my God. That scene broke my heart.
Yeah. There were so many times in this book where I was like either on the verge of tears or actually crying because
how do you explain addiction to a 5-year-old?
Exactly like Mia says. She says she probably knows way the fuck more about it than you do. Or we think she does. Like, she knows, she has the lived fucking experience.
Well, and like, I wasn't correct in what I said.
But it is hard to put into 5-year-old terms.
Yeah.
God, explaining addiction to Valor. Because Valor's 5. Like, I just kept on putting Valor in all of these situations. And losing my goddamn mind. You know?
Whoa. My brain did not.
Doesn't that change everything?
It does. You having that a very direct comparison. I thought you were saying at first, though, because I was focused on book, that you said, you're like, I keep putting Valor in situations where she's having to deal with addiction or like potentially not deal with it. And I was like, Melody.
What?
That's
what are you not
that's
telling me?
And 2, I don't know that you should admit that live on podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's a private conversation to have with a professional.
Yeah.
Getting engaged can be stressful. Getting the right ring won't be at BlueNile.com. The jewelers at BlueNile.com have sparkle down to a science with beautiful lab-grown diamonds worthy of your most brilliant moments. Their lab-grown diamonds are independently graded and guaranteed identical to natural diamonds and ready to ship to your door. Get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code POD at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com, code POD for $50 off.
Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Sign up for Greenlight today at greenlight.com/podcast.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Anyway, so she comes in and like talks to her about it, and then she encourages him to tell Natasha where her mom is and that her mom didn't just completely abandon her. Because that's what the night terror was about.
Yeah.
And then after that, we see Mia going for a run, and like 3 or 4 blocks away from their apartment complex, on the top of a dirt pile in an active construction site, she finds Natasha just like playing with a plastic spoon and a paper cup and all the dirt. And like relatable, you know? Like I can point Valor at a dirt pile and she'll be happy for many minutes upon minutes. But like thinking about...
But you're there.
Yeah.
Or somebody is there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about Valor waking up in the house, seeing that her grown-up is asleep and non-responsive. And so she just takes it upon herself to walk 3 or 4 blocks into like a place where rebar is just sticking out of the ground.
Listener, for context, what has happened is Natasha woke up and couldn't wake up Frisco because he was still sleeping and he was
because he got hammered at 4 a.m. when insomnia and the ghosts came out.
Yes. And Mia's pissed, frankly, when
Obviously.
She finds out. And she takes Natasha home. And when Mia goes to wake him up, he's already gone. He's not in his bed because he's out looking for Natasha.
Yeah.
And when he gets back, oh, by the way, of note, she does see like the only thing that is well taken care of in this apartment is his dress blues.
And
with
all of
his
the medals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so she is starting to register just how important his Navy life was.
And how adrift he probably is and how much he's probably grieving.
And so he gets back and he's horrified when he finds out where Natasha was. And Mia explains, because Natasha talked to her.
Pissed.
Yes, but Mia explains that Natasha feels like she's free to do what she wants when her guardian drinks themselves into a stupor, which...
Correct.
Fair.
Yeah.
That is the history that she has.
It's all she's ever fucking known. All right, Frisco. And so I love this, though, because Mia very clearly and kindly, much more kindly than I probably would have been capable of, is like, hey, you are not allowed to be mad at her in this moment because... this is all she's ever known.
You're going to have to teach her rules because, oh my God, Natasha doesn't even know what a rule is. She's
never had a rule.
He asks her, he's like, what do you think a rule is? And she's like, something that you want me to do that I don't want to do? And he's like, no, a rule is something.
I mean, yes, very often, frankly. Yeah.
You cannot make that clarification. So he's basically like, no, a rule is something that I want you to do that you have to do even if you don't want to do
all the time, every time, no matter
even
what.
if I'm asleep, even if everybody around is asleep, you have to do this at all times.
Well, and part of the reason that she couldn't wake him up is that she didn't try very hard because mommy would get really, really mad if Natasha tried to wake her up in the morning.
This kid killed me. Like all of her little things.
It was so
this was a rough book.
But I loved it because it was so incredible to see how much she blossomed under the care of grown-ups who know how to show responsible love.
Yes.
Like it's kind I'm going to cry.
Yeah, and it's also one thing, like, I just want to make this very clear to listener, because, like, you and I have had this conversation, and I know that, like, we've had lots of conversations off pod about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just want to make it very clear to listener, and you don't necessarily have to back me up, but I need them to know, if somebody fucking comes and makes comments about how all of this is a choice, like, addiction and substance abuse and things like that. There are things that she could have done, yes, but substance abuse itself is not
it's an illness.
It's a mental illness. Like, I don't want to fucking hear it. And I'm just putting that disclaimer out there because I've been having this conversation a lot lately, and boy, pisses me off.
It does not mean that I'm going to not come at her jugular for all of her horrendous treatment of her daughter.
Absolutely, because there are things that she could have done, but like, don't villainize her for the actual substance abuse. How she handles
No, I'm going
her...
to villainize you for the symptom of abusing your daughter via neglect and horrifying decisions. Yeah.
That's fine. But like, it's been a hot topic lately and I'm very pissy, frankly, about it, having this conversation. And so I just want to just put out that disclaimer because
it's an illness.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah, and that's not to say that she's not in the wrong, because she is. Anyway, so he ends up making the decision to quit drinking.
And he says, because he wants to show Natasha that she's not the only one who is subject to rules.
Yes.
And that's something that, like, is Natasha's idea, but very quickly Frisco's like, no, yeah, that's actually a really good way to do this. So he says that she's not allowed to leave the condo at all unless she asks him or tells him what's going on. And he's like, even if I'm asleep, you wake me up. And then she tells him that he's not allowed to curse. And then
if
he says,
I have rules, you have to have rules too.
Yeah, and that's fair. And then he says, and the other rule is that I'm not drinking anymore, not even beer. And this is after they decide to like go on a picnic to the beach all together, all three of them, because she needs to do her swim lesson and Mia already had like a bathing suit on or whatever.
Oh my God. But then there's the cutest fucking scene. So like this is like right after this rules conversation.
Yeah.
And he has rigged up a system in the house where, because he went to lay down because he hasn't been sleep. Part of it is he's been using drinking to help him sleep. It's hard for him to fall asleep. Yeah. And he set up the system where there's an alarm that goes off next to him if the front door opens. And so it goes off when he lays down and he gets up and he's like, I'm about to go get that kid.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mia and Natasha show back up and Mia totally covers Natasha's ass knowing that Frisco knows what just happened.
Oh, yeah.
But she's like, yeah, Natasha just came to get
She just
me
forgot
to come tell you.
And then she came back in order to tell you. Isn't that great? Because Mia's whole thing is positive reinforcement is going to do a lot more than punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, all right, here we go.
So he does the cutest thing. So he goes and gets a medal off of his dress blues and takes it out. And he's like, in honor of you following my rules so good, I'm giving you this medal. And then he pins it on her.
And they salute each other. He says Navy SEALs only salute when they're being honored like this. It was so cute.
Oh my God. And then this leads into the next cute thing.
Yeah.
They go furniture shopping because he doesn't have furniture for a kid.
They also kiss on the beach. They also do that kiss on the beach. They go on the picnic. The whole thing happens. And then don't they kiss on that beach?
Oh.
And then she says, I can't do this. No?
We jumped way ahead and then
Did
now
we?
we've gone back. Yeah. I was just looking through my notes.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So they go furniture shopping.
They go furniture shopping and she ends up picking out some furniture and she really wants this pink fucking couch.
Glitter couch. Oh my God.
And he's like,
it's actually,
no.
It's not called a couch. It is marketed as a settee.
Oh, great. Even better. So he's like, we're not buying that. And she's like, please. And his response as positive reinforcement, he's like, if you get enough medals,
yeah,
we will get you that couch.
Yeah. Because she's created this whole like backstory that she's a Russian princess. And so much of this, anytime they talk her into something, it's because this is what princesses do, or like this is the couch a princess would have, and all this stuff. It's great.
But then the furniture gets delivered, and this is the first time that we see him emotionally open, right? And like acknowledge the pain that he's feeling, because he's in agony about this entire thing. And so the furniture gets delivered and the reason they bought from that place is because they advertised free delivery.
Right.
But they deliver to the place,
to the curb
address. And he's like, I look at me. I am physically disabled. I need you to take that upstairs. And they're like, sucks to suck, bro, and leave. And then Mia comes down and she's like,
she sees all this happen. She hears it happen. He's mortified.
And then he looks at her and he just says, I hate this.
I hate this.
And then Thomas
Thomas, and then his old swim buddy ends up coming.
Lucky.
They all move his stuff, and like, you know, the village comes together, right, around him.
I teared up for sure.
It's wonderful, and it's, I don't know, he's starting his journey, right? Because I don't even think he says this time, I'm physically disabled. He cannot say the words out loud.
Mm-mm. He can't even think it.
No. And not only is he in emotional pain about this, just to make sure a listener knows, he's also in like chronic physical pain.
Yeah.
Like everything about it is awful. And so he doesn't say I'm physically disabled, but like that's the subtext of the whole thing. And the girl he's already admitted having a crush on sees all of this happen. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's awful. But then after that, this is when they do swim lessons and a picnic.
Yes. Natasha, by the way, has decided she's marrying Thomas and that Frisco should marry Mia since he can't marry her mom because she's his sister.
That's right.
And because Mia is pretty and she makes good sandwiches. And you know what? There are worse reasons to marry somebody.
So the logic is not flawed.
The logic is sound.
Yeah.
And then he says out, he's like, you're right. Mia is pretty. And ooh, she's all flustered about it.
So then they are looking deeply into each other's eyes on this beach after they have like some deep convos, and he kisses her.
Wait, before the kiss though, he looks her dead in her beautiful, goofy smiled face, even though he doesn't think her smile is goofy anymore. And he does say to her, I like my positive reinforcement delivered a little differently.
Oh, golly.
And then they kiss.
Yeah. And it's like a makeout immediately. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then she pulls back and she says, I can't do this. I'm so sorry. I can't do this. And he goes to turn around and leaves. He
obviously assumes that she can't do this because he's a broken wreck of a man who will never be whole again. And he's a waste of shitty space.
This like recurring thought of his that he's not whole and he'll never be whole.
He's not a real man. He won't be whole. Yeah. And then they're in the middle of kissing when Natasha shows up because she hasn't quote unquote rejected him yet, because they get interrupted by Natasha asking for ice cream.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then they do ice cream and then she comes back and she's like, it would be a mistake. And that's when he starts going down his rabbit hole of shit. And no, it turns out the reason is because, one, she doesn't have sex without love. And she tells her, she's like, I don't do sex without love. And
she doesn't tell him this yet, though. She tells him that way later.
You're right.
Yeah, they go on a walkabout and they run into the big bad.
And that's when Dwayne shows up.
Yeah.
I had a problem. I could
with him being the only fat character?
The only
is
fat,
that what
and
it was?
Often it was talked about how fat he was. He was always he was literally never mentioned without his weight being mentioned.
No.
It was infuriating.
When he does the innocuous thing of walk upstairs, it's him pulling his girth up the stairs.
He is referred to multiple times in the book of, instead of as like shitty ex-boyfriend, instead of as Dwayne, instead of as that abusive asshole, he is referred to as the fat man.
Granted, Susan Brockmann does make up for it for me a little bit when Thomas says, because they get in this fight, right? Dwayne threatens him. They fight. Dwayne does a bunch of like dirty shots and like kicks him in his injured knee
leg
multiple times. It's like cracking into oblivion, right? He's on the ground. And then when they finally like break apart, because Frisco gets his own really great hits in, Dwayne hears sirens and runs away. And then Thomas comes up and sees Frisco like crumpled on the floor. And he's like, Frisco, did that guy like beat you up? Like, what? Did you make an inappropriate fat joke or something? and that made me laugh.
It was amusing, but like, I was just so fucking annoyed by it.
Yeah. The whole thing sucked.
Literally nonstop. Every single time he's mentioned.
And he is the only bad character.
Yep. And he's also the only fat character.
Yeah.
He's the only person who could even be considered not slim and muscular.
Or like, fit, not fit.
Yeah. So Mia ends up finding him at the emergency room because Frisco was like, run, take Natasha and
you gotta go.
run. And so Mia shows up at the emergency room and it is not hard for him to find. She specifically is like, it wasn't a problem to find him because of all the cursing.
Oh, yeah.
And then she teases him when she gets there because she can tell that he doesn't want to talk about what happened or his leg or his pain. And she says, I thought you told Tasha no more bad words. And then she does the sexiest fucking thing because the doctor shows up and the doctor is talking over him constantly.
Yep.
And talking to her instead.
About him in the third person as if he's not there.
And he's pissed. Like, what the fuck, dude? And the doctor doesn't care. And then she says, actually, he's a lieutenant and should be treated as such. And you need to talk to him because this is his situation. He's the patient. He's the one in pain. And then the doctor looks at her and is like, okay, well, then you convince him to take pain meds. And she's like, that's not my place.
It's also not going to happen. If he says no, if he's made up his mind, like, just give up. And the doctor's like, oh, I should have known you were a SEAL and like, I'm going to transfer him to the vet hospital. I'm going to call my Navy buddy, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so the doctor from the Navy comes.
Yeah, and he's like, you need pain meds, Frisco. And Frisco is like, I refuse to take anything that's going to take me out mentally because it's possible Dwayne's going to come back. In fact, Dwayne is definitely coming back because during the fight, he realizes his sister stole money from Dwayne. Yeah. And that Dwayne is ready to use Natasha
as collateral. And like, hold on though, real quick. Just like parenting side note. Mm-hmm. It's also a really bad idea to get any kind of pain meds that are going to like lay you up and have you drooling if you're the one single person in the land who's responsible for a small child.
Yes.
Like, he has no support system other than Mia, and he wouldn't even ask her. She would foist it upon him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So even if it wasn't for the big, bad Navy SEAL reason of like needing to protect and defend the home or whatever against a bad man, like,
it's just not a good idea.
She's just a baby. You can't do that with a baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's like, no, I can't do that. And the doctor's like, all right, I'm going to regret this. But he gives him a prescription for like basically
it's
cortisone
a local
shots.
Anesthetic, yeah.
Yeah. That he has to inject into his knee. It's gnarly.
It was awful.
Getting engaged can be stressful. Getting the right ring won't be at BlueNile.com. The jewelers at BlueNile.com have sparkle down to a science with beautiful lab-grown diamonds worthy of your most brilliant moments. Their lab-grown diamonds are independently graded and guaranteed identical to natural diamonds and ready to ship to your door. Get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code POD at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com, code POD for $50 off.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Sign up for Greenlight today at greenlight.com/podcast.
Also, he goes to get x-rays and Mia's like, I'll wait for you. And he's like, don't do that. And then he gets back and he's so happy because she did wait for him.
And he hates that he's so happy about it, but he's so relieved and he's so like moved.
For the first time in forever, he didn't feel so damned alone.
I mean, yeah, because the other thing that he's done in the last 5 years is push all of Alpha Team 10 away from him because he can't be part of the whatever the fuck. Who cares?
No, I know. You're fine. I'm allowed. Melody, I'm allowed to giggle. My God.
You are. And I'm going to have several seats. Yeah.
Damn.
Sorry. I just, so much of this book was like, hard and frustrating and, you know.
Yeah.
Like, he feels so alone because he pushed everyone away because he doesn't think that he's, like, man enough to hang out with his old buddies because he's injured.
Yeah, he literally looks at Mia in this hospital and says, no wonder you damn near ran away from me on the beach. Yep. You don't think I'm much of a man, do you?
Because she was also worried about that fight earlier Because Broseph had a knife. Dwayne came out with a switchblade.
Even if your knee isn't fucked, dude
he
has
a weapon and you do not.
But of course, like, he's not going to see it that way because,
No.
I mean, yeah, he has a knife, but he's fat.
And
I'm a seal. So,
Yeah,
like,
quite.
But anyway, and so this is when she does explain to him that she didn't run away from him because she doesn't think he's a man. She ran because she doesn't do just sex. She needs love, even if there's incredible chemistry. And he tells her, I can't give you that. And she Han Solos him and
she says, I know. That's why I never asked.
I guess
and
that's not
she didn't
Han
say.
Solos. Lots of Star Wars references today.
That is Han Solo,
No.
but he says it to I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. So that's why she ran. And then she realizes that a list she had seen on his fridge at one point when she was over there was a list of all of the things that he needed to be able to do to be a SEAL again. And she realizes that it's not just a list of what he needs to be able to do to be a SEAL. It's a list of what he needs to be able to do to feel like a man again and to feel whole again.
Yeah.
And there's stuff on there like walking, which he's been able to check off, but there's also stuff like running and
jumping.
climbing.
And jumping out of a plane.
Parachuting. Yeah.
Yikes. And like those are all the things he would need to be an active duty SEAL again. Because she makes fun of him and she's like, you should also put that you can't be on the Olympic basketball team. and and he's like,
yeah. Read the room.
This is serious times. I'm gonna be a SEAL again. I'm gonna be a man.
Oh my God. I did have the thought.
Yeah.
The hospital almost gave him a wheelchair to go home.
Ooh.
And I was like, it's a good thing he didn't accept, because how do you think he would have handled getting home in a wheelchair and then living on the second floor?
I mean, that is making the assumption that he wouldn't light the wheelchair on fire before he left the hospital.
The minute he got out of the hospital, yeah.
No, before he left it. He would have ceremonially burnt this wheelchair in the middle of the hospital.
Hospitals in 96?
Yes.
Yeah. There wouldn't have even been a fire alarm. He would have done it and then just army crawled his way out of there.
Probably, yeah. Well, so they send him home with crutches. And that night, they get home at like 2 in the goddamn morning.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to bed. But in the middle of the night, he hears like a kerthunk that is really out of whack. He doesn't understand what's happening. So he gets up and he goes to investigate. And he realizes that Natasha has fallen out of bed. And she's like really delirious. And she has no like equilibrium. She keeps on like trying to get up and then falling back down. And at first he thinks she's like playing some sort of game. And then he goes to lift her back into bed and realizes that like she's scalding hot.
Yeah, she has a fever.
And so he goes through this whole thing of like trying to get a cab, but the cabbie won't leave the car in order to help him bring her down from the second floor. And then he tries to call an ambulance, and the ambulance is like, honestly, you'll get here faster because this isn't going to be a high priority call and we're really busy. So like, you'll get her here faster if you bring her yourself. And he's like, I can't carry her down. This is when he says, I am physically disabled. I need help. And then finally, he's like, I would die before I did this for myself. But because it's for Natasha, I'm going to go get Mia and I'm going to ask her to not only drive us to the hospital, but also to carry my 5-year-old niece down the stairs in order to get her to the car.
Yeah.
And she knows what a big deal this is. Mia handles this perfectly because
she handles
he says,
it like a queen.
Yeah, he says, I also need you to carry her down to the car. And in her inner monologue, it says, like, I know that this is a really momentous occasion. And, like, the way that I handled this could, like, alter the future for better or worse. And then she says, oh, yeah, of course. Trying to get her down the stairs with crutches would be really dangerous. And then she's like, I passed that test. Ooh, yeah. Go, Mia.
So it turns out Mia has an ear infection.
She's got swimmer's ear because of all those swimming lessons.
Yeah. But when they get home, she goes back to sleep, and Mia realizes after she's gone back to her apartment that she has her meds. And so she goes over and she's like, I'm just going to sneak in because the door's unlocked and leave it on the table. But when she gets in, she can hear like sniffling. And she looks in, she like peeks her head into his room, and he is just like quietly sobbing.
Hands in his
on
head.
his bed.
Yeah.
Because when we get it from his point of view, he is horrified that if like his pride over refusing to go to the first floor, this was his wake-up call, that his pride could have killed this kid.
Yeah.
If it was a more serious thing.
Right. And this is also a moment when it's this dual issue of my pride could have really hurt this kid because I am helpless. And the feeling of helplessness is like cutting him to the core.
Well, and specifically, he's helpless because of the situation that he's in. Like,
yeah,
there are workarounds if he'd been on the first floor, right?
Yeah.
Like if he had been willing to do, and so he's broken about it.
I mean, he still wouldn't have been able really to carry her. He's on crutches.
But like there are other things that he could have done, right? Like there are situations, like he could have put her on a rolly chair.
Sure.
And drug her. You know what I mean? Like he can't put her on the pulley system.
No, unfortunately. She would love that though.
Were
she a little bit more awake?
But like it's a wake-up call for him that he's going to because God knows how long his sister's going to be in rehab, and if she's even going to be able to take care of a child when she gets out. And then like he has to accept some things, and he's not ready to, but he's ready
but
to
he's looking him dead in the face, and it's hard.
Yes, for the first time.
Yeah. So Mia is like, I'm backing away to preserve the toxic masculinity. Back away slowly.
She does the smart thing.
Make no noise whatsoever. And then she goes outside and she knocks again and pretends this is the first time she's ever been there. Hello.
I did have the thought, though. I was like, man, he must have been real fucked up if that Navy SEAL didn't hear somebody walk into his fucking apartment.
Honestly.
Also, buddy, when did you turn off your fucking door alarm thing? You didn't turn that back on? You just believe that Natasha's gonna
She's gonna be laid up forever?
Yeah, anyway, so she does knock real loud, and he finally makes it to the door, leaves all the lights off, and they end up having tea. And he's like, "Do you want to come in for some tea?" And
she's shocked.
Mm-hmm.
She was prepared for him to grab the medicine and
then just slam the door.
Shut the door. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as they're sitting there for tea, he opens up to her, and this is when she finds out about his childhood and about like what being a SEAL symbolizes for him, the sort of cornerstone that it is for his identity. And he's like, I was helpless today. I was helpless and she could have died. And Mia says, no, you are not helpless. You are only helpless if you don't have anyone to call. I was right there. We did it. She's great. And it's because you have people around you who care about you and who want to help. And all you have to do is call.
And all of her walls come down and she decides, fuck love. Because she walks up to him and cradles his face and he's like, you don't want this, remember? And she's like, yes, I do. His eyes looked so sad, so soft and gentle. She had tried to remain distant.
Yeah.
I can't give you what you want, he said huskily. I know it matters to you. Love. He was talking about love.
Bah!
And then she's like, that makes us even because I can't give you what you want, which is being a Navy SEAL. And then he looks at her and he's like, you're playing with fire. There may be an awful lot of things that I can't do anymore, but making love to a beautiful woman isn't one of them. And then it's on.
You know what? It's on TM and it's good and stuff, but there were so many moments in this book where it was like cringe-tacular because it was like, because he was just like, all he could think about was a few hours earlier when they had made love. And I just want to melt into the floor.
It's so funny to me because making love doesn't bother me. Made love doesn't bother me. Like, it's not like they say it and I'm like, a flutter over it, but the level of hatred that you have for that term brings me alive.
It squeaks me out.
I thought of you every single time it came up in this book.
So hard. Well, and it's hilarious, though, because I have a question for you. At some point very, very soon, actually, it's before she leaves that morning, after they do the making love, she goes to leave before Natasha wakes up. And apparently she like writes a new list on his board of like stuff he can do. And Suzanne Brockmann tried to look at me in my beautiful face and tell me that some of the suggestions that she put on there were incredibly racy and suggestive. And I need to know how explicit somebody can get if they can only refer to sex as making love.
Making love to my butt.
I
can't. Making love to my booty hole. Making aggressive love to my face hole. That was my making love version of face fucking by the listener.
Right.
Making aggressive love to my throat. Now we're talking.
See it.
Now we're cooking with fire, my friend. Yeah, I agree. I didn't even clock that was said, but like, yeah.
It's hilarious.
How racy could it be?
Come on. How explicit can it get?
Boy, I've been reading some fucking dirty talk with those Silver Fox books, and like, wow, it's not that. They're just different.
It's a different book. It's a different flavor. It's a different time. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with part 2 of Frisco's Kid by Suzanne Brockmann, in which we get some minor shenanigans and malarkey. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you tomorrow.
Getting engaged can be stressful. Getting the right ring won't be at BlueNile.com. The jewelers at BlueNile.com have sparkle down to a science with beautiful lab-grown diamonds worthy of your most brilliant moments. Their lab-grown diamonds are independently graded and guaranteed identical to natural diamonds and ready to ship to your door. Get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with code POD at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com, code POD for $50 off.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Sign up for Greenlight today at greenlight.com/podcast.